was kind, thoughtful, friendly.
Pathological liar.
At the time when would have said an answer to prayer, just what we needed.
It's a hard thing to go through, having a loved one drop off.
This is the moment the murderous activities of Britain's biggest serial killer were unearthed.
That son of a gun killed my father on Christmas Eve.
Today's unfortunate story is made by a Mr. Harold Frederick Shipman, born January 14th, 1946, known to acquaintances as Fred Shipman. He was an English general practitioner and serial killer. He is considered to be one of the most prolific serial killers in modern history, with an estimated 250 victims. Harold Frederick Shipman was born on January 14th, 1946, on the Bestwood Estate, a council estate in Nottingham. He was the second of 3 children. Mr. Shipman passed his 11 plus in 1957, moving to High Pavement Grammar School, Nottingham, which he left in 1964. He excelled as a distant runner, and in his final year of school, served as vice captain of the athletics team. Now, Mr. Shipman was very close to his mother. She died of lung cancer when he was 17. Her death came in a manner similar to what later became Shipman's own modus operandi. His mom, in the later stages of her lung cancer disease, she had morphine given to her at home by a doctor. Mr. Shipman witnessed his mother's pain subside despite her terminal condition until she died June 21st, 1963. On November 5th, 1966, he married Primrose May Octoby. The couple had 4 children. Shipman then studied medicine at Leeds School of Medicine, University of Leeds, and graduating in 1970. Mr. Shipman began working as a general practitioner in the year 1974 in Yorkshire. At the Abraham Medical Center in Todmorden, the following year, Shipman was caught forging prescriptions of pethidine for his own use. He was fined a lot of money and briefly attended a drug rehabilitation clinic in York. He worked as a general practitioner for Donnybrook Medical Center in Hyde, Greater Manchester in the year 1977.
The number of people that died at home, single women living on their own, dying within an hour or so of seeing Dr. Shipman, dying sat in a chair, dressed in the day clothes. So many of them going to the surgery, dying in the surgery. It just stretched logic.
Mr. Shipman continued to work as a GP, general practitioner, in Hyde throughout the 1980s and established his own surgery at 21 Market Street in 1993, becoming a respected member of the community. In the year of 1983, he was interviewed in an edition of the Granada Television Current Affairs documentary World in Action on how the mentally ill should be treated in the community. A year after his conviction on charges of murder, the interview was rebroadcasted on Tonight with Trevor McDonald. In March 1998, Dr. Linda Reynolds of the Brooks Surgery in Hyde expressed concerns to John Poling, the coroner for the South Manchester District. about the high death rate among Dr. Shipman's patients. Particularly, she was concerned about the large number of cremation forms for elderly women that he had asked to have countersigned.
Shipman was altering patient records to conceal his crimes, and on occasion, to save time, he recorded their deaths before he killed them.
The number of deaths towards the end were increasing at such a rapid rate that
Police were unable to find sufficient evidence to bring charges and to close the investigation on April 17th. Shipman inquiry later blamed Greater Manchester Police for assigning inexperienced officers to the case. After the investigation was closed, Mr. Shipman killed 3 more people. A few months later, in August of that year, a taxi driver, John Shaw, told the police that he suspected Shipman of murdering at least 21 patients. Mr. Shaw became suspicious, as many of the elderly customers he took to the hospital, while seemingly in good health, died in Mr. Shipman's care. Mr. Shipman's last victim was Kathleen Grundy, a former mayor of Mr. Hyde who was found dead at her home on June 24, 1998. He was the last person to see her alive. He later signed her death certificate, recording the cause of death as old age. Grundy's daughter, Angela Woodruff, became concerned when fellow solicitor Brian Burgess informed her that a will had been made, apparently by her mother, with doubts about its authenticity. The will of concern excluded Miss Woodruff and her children, but left a lot of money to Dr. Shipman. Miss Woodruff went to the police, who began an investigation. Grundy's body was exhumed and found to contain traces of diamorphine, heroin, often used for pain control in terminal cancer patients. Mr. Shipman, or rather Dr. Shipman, claimed that Miss Grundy had been an addict and showed them comments he had written to the effect, "It is his computerized medical journal." However, police examination of his computer showed that the entries were written after Grundy's death. Mr. Shipman was arrested on September 7th, 1998, and was found to own a Brother typewriter of the typewriter used to make the forged will. The police investigated other deaths Shipman had certified and investigated 15 specimen cases. They discovered a pattern of his administering lethal doses of diamorphine, signing patients' death certificates, and then falsifying medical records to indicate that they had been in poor health. Shipman denied his guilt, disputing the scientific evidence against him. He never made any public statements about his actions. Shipman's wife, Primrose, maintained that he was not guilty even after his conviction.
Alice Kitchen was one of those illogical cases where Shipman had visited shortly before she died. But there was something unusual which bothered her family.
Great power trip that he was on, that their last words would have been, "Thank you, doctor."
Many of his victims lived on their own. A lot of them used to regard his visits to them as being something to look forward to.
But the fact is, he was a hospital doctor and a GP,
It was never challenged.
Mr. Shipman hanged himself in his cell at Atrium Prison, Wakefield, at 6:20 a.m. on January 13, 2004, at the age of 15. He was pronounced dead at 8:10 a.m. A statement from His Majesty's Prison Service indicated that he had hanged himself from the window bars of his cell using his bed sheets. Some of the victims' families said that him hanging himself, they felt cheated. They would never have the satisfaction of a confession, nor answers as to why he committed his crimes. Shipman's death divided national newspapers, with Daily Mirror branding him a cold coward and condemning the prison service for allowing his suicide to happen. Shipman's motive for suicide was never established, though he reportedly told his probation officer that he was considering suicide to assure his wife's financial security after he was stripped of his National Health Service pension. Primrose, Shipman's wife, received the full pension. She would not have been entitled to any of it if Mr. Shipman had lived past the age of 60. After Shipman's body was released to the family, the police advised the wife against burying her husband in case the grave was attacked. Shipman was eventually cremated on March 19, 2005 at a crematorium. The cremation took place outside normal working hours to maintain security, secrecy, and was attended by the wife and the couple's 4 children. With further investigations, in 2005, it came to light that Shipman had also stolen jewelry from his victims in 1998. The police seized a whole amount of a lot of jewelry they found in his garage from victims. A memorial garden to Shipman's victims, called the Garden of Tranquility, opened in Hyde Park, Hyde, on June 30th, 2005. As of 2009, families of over 200 of the victims of Shipman were still seeking compensation for their loss of their relatives. In September 2009, letters that Shipman wrote in prison to friends were to be sold at an auction. But following complaints from victims, relatives, and the media, the sale was withdrawn. As of December 1st, 2023, Dr. Shipman, also named Dr. Death and the Angel of Death, is the only British doctor to have been convicted of murdering patients. I hope you guys enjoy this unfortunate story of Dr. Shipman's patients. A lot more stories of unfortunate things coming from Tombstone Whispers. I'm Mr. Wade and Mrs. Crime. A lot more coming to you.